This episode is proudly presented by One World Entertainment and the Smashing Pumpkins' The World is a Vampire Festival, running from April 15 through to April 30. Go to oneworldentertainment.com.au for more information. And now on with the show.
Hello,
Hey Sully, how you doing, man?
is this Andrew?
It is Andrew. How are you?
Hey, how are you, buddy?
I'm great. Let's get right into it. You've got a bucket load of interviews to do today.
Yeah, that's for sure.
All right. 24th sees the release of Lighting Up the Sky. It's your first album in 5 years. Potentially, we hear the last. Sully Erna from the band's with me. Thanks for hanging out with us today, mate.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
That's fine. So, leading up to an album release, it's for you, it's like press, videos, press. When are you
Photo
finding some
shoot,
photo shoot?
press.
So, does it always feel like when it gets to the release day, it's a sense of relief, or is there still a sense of excitement?
Well, it's both. As soon as the press kind of slows down, it obviously is a relief because it's a lot at once. Like it all comes at you at once. But of course, with the record dropping and knowing the world can hear it now, and us being as excited as we are about it, that's the reward to the whole thing. And of course, getting out on the road and playing the songs live and putting on a good show, like that's what really is the light at the end of the tunnel. So yeah, it's a little bit of both.
Awesome. So when it comes to an album and the fans and the bands, they all have their own opinions. They all take something different from it. So for me, number one, congrats on the album. It's very full circle. And what I mean by full circle is there's a beginning and an end and a complete story to this album. So for me, the title Lighting Up the Sky means someone, leaving one journey and moving on to another. What does the story of the album mean for you as the writer?
Well, for the record in its entirety, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, if anybody knows anything about any Hollywood movie or feature film that's ever been made, there's a rule of thumb when you're a script writer, which is boy meets girl, boy loses girl, boy gets girl back, right? So that's the basis to every story in the entire world, whether people realize it or not. Now, sometimes girl may mean your job, your hobby, your career. It could mean your addiction. Sometimes, it doesn't have to necessarily mean girl, but that's kind of the basis. So for me, this record is very complete because as I was putting the sequencing together, it's then that I realized that, like, wow, actually there's a whole story here that I wasn't even trying to write it to be conceptual in that way. So I started nudging things around, and then I realized that it really is about one man's journey through life, through the ups and downs, finding love, being betrayed, having to find a way to be re-inspired again, missing the people in your life that you love, your family, appreciating and recognizing my band and how they've been one of the most important parts of my life, all the way through the end of the album where Lighting Up the Sky, the actual song, is really just about a reflection of that whole journey. And if I could give myself some advice as a young version of Sully, what would I tell that young boy now as an adult with so much more experience? Would I have done things differently? Would I have done things the same? Would I have gone faster, slower? Would I have any regrets? Because if I wasn't out there going 1,000 miles an hour and lighting up the sky, would I have even gotten to where I gotten to today?
Okay, sure. So you mentioned that once you put the sequencing together, the story came together. Did you have to go back and potentially revisit some songs to get the flow exactly how you wanted it?
No, I mean, they were just kind of writing themselves. The unfortunate thing is, the whole world has gone through this crazy few years with COVID and politics and all this garbage that infected us. But what it did was that it created time for us. It created time to spend with your family, time to take a breath and slow down. It was like the universe tapped us all on the shoulder and forced us to kind of, simplify again and be home and be humbled. And so during that time is when we found we had the luxury of writing and just being able to find the best of the best, where sometimes you're under a timeline and you have to get things done in a certain amount of time. So it was really a blessing to be able to, to be able to write this record like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, sure. And you co-produced the album with Mudrock, and he's done Alice Cooper, Avenged, people like that. What does he personally bring to you and to the band when it comes to creating an album?
Well, interestingly enough, most people should know if they don't. Andrew Murdock, who we all call Mudrock, um, produced our first two albums, and it was him that gave us our first break. When we were a young band and we were building a catalog of songs and just playing the local club circuit and trying to shop for a record deal, we were able to borrow $2,600 off of a friend. And with that money, we went in and we met Murdock and, went into his studio in some basement in Boston and just said, hey, listen, we have about 11 or 12 songs, but we only have this much money. Can you do it for us? And he cut us a deal, and we ended up literally recording the first record over a weekend for $2,600. And it's the same record that has gone on to sell over 4 million copies. So I don't know if people realize that, but our first record was done by him, and it was also our demo. So, of course, we brought him back on record number 2 on the Awake album. So, but here we are now talking about this may very well be the last full body of work from Godsmack, and it just felt right to kind of go back and revisit the original team that helped us put this whole success together in the first place and kind of, end this thing where it began.
Sure. So when you think about that very first album and the $2,600 that you spent, is there a moment right now where you go, holy shit, that was $2,600 well spent?
Yeah, sure was. Yeah, of course. I mean, it's actually, when you're in the story and you're living in it at that moment, you don't realize what you're doing and what kind of story you're creating because you're just in it, right?
Yeah, sure.
You get things done cheap and play for a case of beer and $50 and sell shirts and CDs out of the trunk of your car. So it's all these years later and after everything that's happened to us in our career, of course, yeah, now we look back and we're like, wow, it's actually a pretty cool story how we got a record deal and what we had to do to fight for it.
Sure. So for me, when I listen to this album, I get an overwhelming sense of a theme of loyalty being important to you. What does loyalty mean to you?
It literally is one of the number one things in my life besides honesty. Honesty and loyalty and transparency and communication, those are the values that I live on, and I will not sacrifice those for anyone or anything. And that reflects on all my relationships, from family to girlfriend to child to friends. So yeah, you hear songs like Best of Times when I'm kind of tipping my hat to the rest of my band members. It was, I realized that there was a moment here that I needed to say thank you to them. Like, I was an ass for a lot of years, and I wasn't trying to be, but, there was a lot of times where the ego gets in the way or the arrogance gets in the way. And it's just because, you're so hungry for this one thing and you just want to get there and you have blinders on and you don't want to listen to anyone else because you feel like the ideas you have and the things you have are going to work and they just have to trust you to let you do it. So when I look back, I go, wow, there was so many times where they were so patient with me when I couldn't be. And so many times that, they picked me up when I was literally flat on my face, and they were just always that rock underneath me, that allowed me to stand on top of it and trust me to lead this band and find that dream that we all wanted since we were kids.
Sure. And then you've got a song like Truth. It's very introspective and sends you within. Now, was that based on a personal experience for you or a personal experience that you've heard of from someone else?
I always write about something that affects me on an emotional level, good or bad. And just about every song I've ever written is just like a journal. You listen to my catalog and it's pretty much my diary. You'll know exactly where I was at that point in time in my life. Truth just happened to be going on right when we were writing the fucking record. Like it couldn't have been worse timing, that I found out through a betrayal that my girl was cheating on me. She admitted to everything. And it was like, it was just a devastation at that moment. But I was right in the middle of writing and recording this record. So I'm absorbing all these feelings and trying to get closure on that while I'm trying to stay focused and positive on completing this album. And, it was inevitable that this was going to come out into a song because that's my therapy. That's how I vent. And that's just what I do to heal. It's proven itself to me over the years. And so I knew it was coming and I was just avoiding it because it was too raw and it was too exposed and vulnerable. And I just didn't know if I was going to be able to actually execute it vocally. And I mean, literally, I probably broke down 3 times in the vocal booth and had to stop while I was trying to track this song because it was that fresh and that raw when it was, recorded.
Sure. Now, you talked about being exposed. So bands are always exposed through their music, but we live in this very digital world where everything's exposed. So what do you do to keep yourself grounded and keep yourself out of that kind of digital environment?
Well, I stay close to a very small circle of friends and family I have. And everybody who's in my life now are there for a reason. They're there because they've earned my trust and my loyalty. They've been in my life for multiple decades. And, other people like my daughter, of course, is my daughter. She's my blood and she's extremely supportive of me. And all these people that I have are all grounded, and so even the band, even through those rock star years, we'll call it, where, you're just trying to figure things out and you're trying to, I don't know, you get thrown into this lifestyle and it can swallow you up very quickly. So it's good that we're all, I don't know, I guess we call ourselves East Coast guys, right? Because there's some kind of sense of pride and loyalty for the boys and girls of like the Northeast of America, Boston, New York, Philadelphia, Jersey. There's just like this sense of value and pride. And even, people don't take shit, but at the same time, if they see you getting out of line, they'll be really quick to humble you and like bring you back down. And I think that's what I've been able to surround myself with over the years is just a really good support team.
Sure. Now, with a career as long and as successful as yours, you can always pinpoint something, and go, that was the moment. Is there a moment or is the longevity enough for you?
I'm sorry, what's the question? Is there a moment for what?
Is there a moment where you just knew this is it, we've got this, or would you just prefer to remember it as a complete career?
Well, I think there was one defining moment in the early years when we were presented our first gold record. That really was like a slap in the face to all of us. Because when you're a musician your whole life, like we have been, and then you start to play in bands, and then you're getting out and playing live and, whatever, and you're going through all these different phases that you go through as a musician, trying to get that record deal, and that's your focus, right? You just want to get a record deal. Everyone wants a record deal. But once you get the record deal, there's so much more work to do after that. And you don't realize that. So you're in it, right? And you're just grinding. But what happens is there's this transition from when you are just a street kid, just working a job, vacuuming pool tables or whatever you do, and you're playing on weekends, you're gigging when you can and grabbing a gig. So, you know, you become conditioned to that, becomes your reality, right? And the dream is the dream. It's just a fantasy. Then all of a sudden you get the record deal, but you're still kind of a regular dude that's working a side job and you're got a record out, but you know, you're still playing or, you know, going on a tour as support in these small clubs, and you're still playing the 20, 30, 40 people. It doesn't feel like anything really changes, you know, and then we're doing that for years. And then all of a sudden, you know, the clubs are selling out, and then we're moving into theaters. And then one day the record label shows up with your manager and hands you a gold album. And then you realize, oh, wow, like 500,000 people bought this album, you know, that you wrote in your bedroom. And it's a pretty you know, it's a wake up call.
Sure. Now, you're going to get asked this a lot today. So I'm the first, so I'll get to do it first. When are we going to see you in Australia?
Oh, I don't know, man. I haven't even seen my own schedule yet. I think they're putting together tentative dates and that kind of thing. And listen, I will tell you this. I love Australia. When we were there, I had a blast. I think it's an awesome country. I think the people are really great. I just don't know. I don't know because I haven't seen any schedules yet. I know we have a tour coming up late April into May in the States. But I haven't seen anything international yet. But I'm sure you'll hear about it. And I know we would love to come back there. And I'm hoping we come back with this record being a huge success, because what I would love to do is be able to bring Godsmack's show over to some other countries like yours and have people enjoy what we do here in the States on a much larger level.
Perfect, man. I'm going to let you go. You've got a very busy day ahead of you, but I'm going to say, if this is your final studio album, I actually hope it's not, but you've really left us with something amazing. So thanks for your time today, Sully.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
All right. Have a great day.
You too. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.
The world is a vampire.
The Smashing Pumpkins are coming down under this April for their World is a Vampire Festival. With special guests, Jane's Addiction, Amel and the Sniffers, and more. Plus, professional wrestling, the NWA versus Australia's best. Tickets on sale now at oneworldentertainment.com.au. The Smashing Pumpkins World is a Vampire Festival. Get your tickets now.